wanted to talk to you about today was a little bit about how to transform your finances. If you look around the room, everybody looks like they have it all together, and they may very well behind the scenes have all of their finances in perfect order, but the majority of people don't. And so what I would suggest is that if you actually showed a little bit of vulnerability and actually exposed the fact that things may not be perfect, you wouldn't be alone. So I wanted to sort of bring that to light and talk a little bit about how we reshape the way we think about money and the way we use money to guide our lives and help to bring joy to our lives. So how many of you have friends or family that you wonder how they're doing all of the things that they're doing with their money? so there's not a hand that's not raised. It's so common for people to wonder that there's no end to some people's money, or they constantly have a new car, or they have a new couch, or a new big screen TV, and we wonder how the heck are they doing that. And I could tell you, probably 90% of those people are doing it on credit. So what I want to do is just talk a little bit about how we bring joy to our lives without using credit. And so I have a little bit of a presentation built so that we can go through some ideas. I've got 5 tips to share with you that I'm hoping will help to help you sort of put some focus and some plans in place. So I say there's no greater wealth than peace of mind. So knowing that your own financial situation is secure and you're moving in the directions that you want and that you value and care about in terms of the things that you want. So just quickly, we're going to talk about having a solid plan, being consistent with what you're trying to do, being patient. That's going to be the number one tip that I have for you. Making sure that you and your finances are protected and not being afraid to ask for help. So these are the sort of 5 key tips that I have for you today. And so we'll go through them one by one. I want to sort of go into a little bit more detail about each area. I wanted to just quickly ask the question, for those of you, how many people get joy from buying new clothes?
Oh, Lord, how about day at work, where do you go?
Retail therapy, and new shoes. Yep, purses. Okay, can anybody give me an example of something that you don't value spending money on, but you do anyway?
Car repairs.
Car repairs. Yes, absolutely. Anything else?
I was going to say wine, but no, that's not true.
The house.
The house repairs, if the roof, you had to replace the roof, or yeah, absolutely. You don't. There's no joy in that. Insurance, yes. So
House insurance, you mean?
So I guess when we look at trying to build a plan, we want to make sure that we're aligning where we're spending our money and where we're focusing our energy, and that it's aligned with the things that bring us the most joy. So the first, I told you it was going to be there. So the first tip, I have a lovely picture of Helen in here. A couple weeks ago, was it a week or 2 ago? We did a vision board session. And so Helen had put together a beautiful vision board with, it says, be mindful. So my first tip is live with intention and focus. So when we start to look at the things that we care about in our life, we want to make sure that we're focusing our energy and our money and our time on the things that matter most. Probably 3 weeks ago, I went to it's called an urban goddess retreat that Cheryl Hebert had put together. And it was a whole weekend. And the one thing that I learned from that session was that I wasn't aligning my time and my energy with the things that I truly valued. It was a real wake-up call for me. Yeah. So I came back from we sort of said, she said, okay, list out all the things that you truly value and the things that you love in your life. Family, friends, quality time together and those kinds of things. And then I looked at, where am I spending my time and my energy? Business. I'm like, okay, I need to take a step back and reevaluate where I'm focusing my time and making sure that I'm intentional about where I'm spending that time to make sure that it's aligned with what I truly care about. And I would say the same is true in terms of all your finances, making sure that you're spending your time and making your, choices about where you're spending your money on the things that truly bring you joy. If you're just buying that pair of shoes just for that retail fix, but it doesn't actually bring you a lot of joy, and maybe a temporary blip, and then you put them in the closet and you don't actually wear them.
Then you gotta go buy another pair.
That's right. So it's a matter of, really thinking about consciously deciding where you spend your money. So conscious consumption is really important. And I think that when we look at sort of starting to develop a bit of a plan for our future, what does financial independence look like? So when we look at, for me, financial independence is freedom. Is not having to answer to anybody. It's having enough money to be able to do the things that I want to do, buy the shoes when I want to buy them, and not think about it twice. But in order to get there, I need to take a number of steps to be able to move myself in that direction. And so I think identifying and prioritizing the goals, and then sometimes it helps to visualize. So what I've got here is pictures of vision boards. When we did the vision board section a couple weeks ago, I actually did a vision book. So I actually put together my ideas and the things that I wanted to sort of remind myself that are important, and to sort of help me keep on track of what it is I truly value. That having those as a visual reminder and in a book format was nice, because I can just tuck it on my desk and be able to flip through it when I thought it was important to me. So I would encourage you to make sure that you create visual reminders of what it is that you value and what it is you want to attract to your life, and be specific about what it is that you want. So focusing, when we start to develop the financial plan, making sure that we actually build a balanced budget. And I have a really great template that I created on the Christmas holidays, when, of course, that's exactly what you're thinking about doing. I was actually on the beach in St. Lucia, so I can't complain. But I was reading a book, and it's called Worry-Free Money. And it was a fabulous, inspirational book about how to simplify your finances so that it's breaking the dollars down into you're not tracking, okay, I'm spending this much money on fuel, and this much money on groceries, and this much money on whatever, shoes. It breaks it down into sort of 4 specific categories. And so it makes it very easy for you to say, okay, I know exactly how much money I have every month to spend on whatever I want. So it's I think if anybody wants it, I can send it to you electronically. It's a nice way to sort of work your way through. And then you know exactly, okay, I've got X number of dollars, and if I spend that to 0, it's okay. Because in here, we have the strategic planning things already addressed. We have the saving for the planned spending that we have. We all know that Christmas comes every year. We all know that birthdays come every year. The family vacation that you want to do. You're setting aside money every month for those things that you know are going to happen. And so when you get to the bottom and you have the dollars that you can spend, you can have fun with those, because you know exactly that you're going to be okay with all the other things that are looked after. The other thing that I really encourage people to look at, and a lot of people don't really know what their net worth is. They have no idea. And so basically, your assets minus what you owe is your net worth. So when we look at tracking that, it's important that once a year, a couple times a year, you look at where you're at with respect to all of your savings and all of your debt, and are you moving in the right direction? Is your net worth growing, or are you accumulating more debt and actually putting yourself further behind? Because it's so hard to dig yourself out of debt. So keeping an eye on the ball is really, really important. When we look at, like I said before, when we looked at people around us, you look at everybody living the life, having a fabulous time. They got 2 cars in the garage, and they've got, beautiful house, granite countertops, and the whole works. 90% of those people are doing that on credit. And so what I'd like to encourage people to do is to take a step back and to look at what it is you can do to be patient and create a lifestyle that is on your own terms, that is on what you can actually afford. So in order to achieve your goals, you need to be focused, and you need to ignore what everybody else is doing. Now, the second tip that I have for you is make saving a habit. So for a lot of people, they get to their, in some cases, their 40s, and they go, maybe I should start saving for retirement. Or sometimes they're 50s, and they think, okay, well, I really should get going here now. So what I encourage people to do, and I like to start working with people quite young, to say, it's time, right from the get-go, right from your very first paycheck, that you start setting aside a little bit of money every month, like a bill, to create, one, an emergency account, but two, some long-term savings for yourself, so that you've got a growing nest egg that you don't touch. It's not for the home down payment, it's not for it's your forget about it money, you tuck it away for your long-term savings and work your way through. If people would treat their retirement savings as a bill, people would be so much better off. And I mean, in my position, I'm privileged to see a lot of people's finances, and it's frightening that a lot of people just haven't had the opportunity to start. And so I would encourage you to start as small as you can, if need be, to just get that ball rolling and start accumulating assets.
Heidi, sorry.
Yeah.
You know what the biggest problem is?
What's that?
And I'm seeing it because I have children. It's a lack of education.
Oh, absolutely.
There is no education on
No.
how to balance your checkbook,
Mhm.
how to know how to save, what
Yeah.
portion.
People come out of school and they have no concept. There's absolutely no, well, I shouldn't say absolutely none, but there is virtually none in terms of financial literacy, teaching them the basics about how to manage your finances. Yeah.
Because by the time you've already formed your habits.
Mhm. Yeah, so these habits I think, are critical. And so if you have kids, encourage them to start saving right away, and get them sort of involved in the discussions about, when you talk about your home spending and your home budget, incorporate the kids into that discussion, because it's important that they understand that at the end of the month, if there's no money left, there's no money left. And that they need to understand, when you say, no, I don't want to buy that right now, it's because I don't choose to spend my money on it, or because there is no money. I don't choose to put that on credit. So when I start out with young folks, if somebody came to me that was in their 20s, I'd say you need to start tucking away 10% of your before tax income to start building up a retirement nest egg for yourself. It's not common anymore that people actually have pension plans and have somebody looking after their long-term planning, and so they do need to start setting aside and treating it like a bill. So automating that, making sure that you're tucking that money away is a wise plan. And harnessing the power of compound interest. Now that sounds, I don't know, does everybody know what compound interest is? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's when your money grows on your money. So, actually here, so this is the power of compound interest. So if we look at this example, we all know that money works. When we save money and it's growing at a rate of, this example is using a 6% rate of return, that our money just takes on a life of its own and it starts to grow. When you're using credit, you're actually doing the opposite. Your money is working against you, and you're actually working to accumulate more debt than you can actually pay off. So in this first example, a 25-year-old, if they started putting $500 away a month, they would end up with $1 million when they're 65. Of that deposit, only $241,000 of that money that was put away was their own money. The rest of it was compound interest. So if you've got the time to let your money grow, it's powerful. It's amazing what it can actually do. Excuse me. So I say don't use credit. I think my third tip was actually supposed to be practice patience. So practicing patience is, I think, the number one tip that I can give you. When we look around, we all want to have what the Joneses are doing, right? And I think it's really important that we say to ourselves, instead of blowing my brains out and having everything that I want this very instant, you take a step back and say, okay, what do I truly value? What do I need? And work your way through. If you put two examples together, one person that did everything on credit and one person that bought everything with cash when they could afford it, the person buying things out with cash will end up way further ahead in the long run. It may look like this person doing it on credit's winning the race because they've got everything now, but they also have to deal with all of the growing interest that they've accumulated with all of those acquisitions that they made. And I like to encourage people to keep as much of their income at their discretion as possible. So when you take on credit, for example, you buy a house, you buy a car, you buy a new TV, you buy a new couch, you've then got 4 people standing there going, okay, I want a little piece of your paycheck because you put it all on credit, right? So they came to Leon's and they got the no money down until 12 months later. Then they've got somebody waiting for a piece of their paycheck. Whereas if you maintain control of your paycheck, you've got discretion about how you spend your money, and you don't have anybody charging you interest. You just buy things when you can afford them and be patient about what it is that you purchase. Okay. So if
Can
you
I say something about
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
Because I heard you say that, and I think it's a great principle. But sometimes you can win with these sort of offers,
Mhm.
because if I want to get something or I need to get something, I will go to Leon's,
Mhm.
get the no down payment, whatever, for 12
Yeah.
months. But then I take whatever I owe, I divide it into the 12 months or 11 months,
That's the smart
and
way
I
to do
put
it.
that away.
Absolutely.
And I'm like,
Yeah, no, and that's the smart way to utilize those programs. If you can get away with using their money, but then making sure that you're paying for it before it's due.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you have an opportunity like that, the Leon's
I
offers great.
encourage
Yeah.
equal payments, because
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
people forget, right?
Yes.
And it's no interest, so
And they have good. Everybody has good intention. Yeah, good intention of doing it, but it doesn't.
Something comes
Oh no,
up.
Jay
Always-
Chardin doesn't want you to pay
Oh
on time.
no, they make it.
No kidding.
24.9.
Yeah.
You can survive on that, 24.9.
Yeah, that's compound interest working in not in your favor.
And this is why they can afford to send me a bill every month, even though they owe me $5.
Yes, I said that to them. I said, you waste more money on paper sending it to people, not to know they owe nothing every month.
That's funny.
They do.
All right, so my slides have jumped to a different slideshow, so I'm gonna go revert to my
Uh-oh.
yeah, I wonder. I had 5 tips for you. Now you have 10. So I don't want to give you all. I want to slow it down for you and keep it simple. So sorry, we're okay? So like I said, practice patience. It may feel like you have fewer things than you have, but over time it's going to definitely pay off. The last thing, I guess, so practicing or protecting. And so I think because we have a room full of women, except for Jack, I want to express the importance of making sure that we protect ourselves as well as our assets. So when we look at the situations where, we all want to be in a relationship that's going to last a lifetime, but reality is, unfortunately, a lot of them don't. And so it's important that we protect our own credit. I've seen a number of times where one partner ends up with all kinds of credit that they didn't even know existed because the other partner's accumulated credit in their name. So making sure that your credit is protected, making sure that you have some assets in your own name so that you have some freedom to make choices, and sometimes that's important. And so I think as women it's important that we protect ourselves in terms of the what ifs. The other what ifs that I want to protect you from is the possibility that life can throw curveballs. And so we've got the risk of premature death, the risk of getting some sort of critical illness, and the possibility of losing our ability to work. And so our number one asset is our ability to work. We have the potential over our careers to make significant amounts of money. And if we lose that ability, we've put our family's lifestyle at a significant risk. And so it's important that we protect those risks, especially right out of high school or right out of university. If you've spent a lot of money working to get yourself a degree or get a master's, now you've got a whole career ahead of you. And if you lose that ability to work, you've really set yourself behind the 8 ball. So it's important that you right from the get-go build in those expenses into your budget to protect your ability to work. Critical illness is a nice lump sum payout that can protect you in the event of an illness, and so it gives you the option to have some time to recover and focus on healing as opposed to stressing about your finances. So that's a really a nice way to go. Now I had a really nice finale, but it's not here. Oh, here's the next ones. So my 5th tip, it's funny because the two slideshows are sort of combined. So the 5th tip is to ask for help. And like I said, it doesn't have to be scary. The process can be very supportive and very easy to work your way through. when I do my holistic planning, I work through, sometimes we need to start right from the get-go and work through the budget for the client. How much money can they afford? What are they trying, like how do we divide up the pie so that we're covering all of the things that they need to do, and making sure that they're bringing joy into their life with the things that they're spending money on, and eliminating the things that they really can cut out to try and allow for the things that they need to make. When you work with a financial advisor, Canadians are more disciplined with their saving, have more confidence about their financial future, and they typically accumulate more assets. So there's a real strong case for working with a financial advisor. I had an additional tip on there, or additional point, which was don't be afraid of fees. There's a lot of hype and a lot of commentary on the media channels about avoiding fees or beware of the fees. And I think that it's really important to understand that fees are there for a reason. I would encourage you to make sure that your investment choices have the lowest fees that are possible, but eliminating fees is not realistic. I don't know of any of you guys that like to work for free. If you want to get good advice and you want to have the support of qualified portfolio managers, it's important that you pay a fee for that. And it often results in much better returns for yourself, and oftentimes allows you to keep invested, because people sometimes they get nervous with the markets and they tend to pull out. My job is to help you, one, pick the right investments that suit you long term, but also help you stay invested when the markets may be doing things that make you a little bit nervous. And so there's value in that. I had a client in today, and I spent a lot of time helping, actually doing business coaching and trying to help, work out some marketing strategies and things. I tended to sort of divert from my typical holistic financial planning hat sometimes. And so it's amazing what you can learn about people's businesses and what we can share as financial advisors.